The next episodes of Thriving Construction come straight from Future Build. Huge thanks to Eco Cocoon. The space was great for chats, acoustics, and even better well-being.
When you go into a passive house home, it is so different to a conventional home.
How so? Because most people haven't been in passive homes.
Oh, it's warm, it's comfortable, it smells good, lots of fresh air. There's a unique sense of quietness, and that's typically because we're using triple glazed windows. We've got really heavy sealed doors, and so there's a really high level of comfort. And combined with Passive House, we also integrated some building biology features as well. So these homes are very natural, natural colour finishes on the walls, natural products in terms of timber or stone. And so they just feel nice. And so instinctively, when people moved in, not really understanding the first thing about Passive House, or in a lot of cases, not even realising it's a Passive House, they quickly got comfortable and they certainly didn't want to move out. So for me, that's the measure of success.
That's really good in terms of success. If someone doesn't want to move and they really love it there, that speaks volumes.
And I think also now that we've been developing these homes for, certainly in the UK for nearly 20 years, we've got homes where people have been living for over a decade. And what's really great is Passive House family is fabulous at really reflecting on their individual projects. So there's lots of data in terms of post-monitoring studies and the like. And so we know that these homes continue to get formed. So we know that our residents are happy, they're not moving on, they're staying in their homes, but also we've got some hard evidence in terms of that low energy comfort levels. And those have now been measured over 10, 15 years.
I love that. So just coming back to this story here where you were a bit of a maverick. I don't think you lied. You told the exact truth.
I did.
But you didn't give the full picture.
I didn't put a badge to it.
But I think what you did is told a good story. And the story that you told is this is the outcome that we are after because this is the need that I see and that this is the need that is being presented to us by those that are in our care. And I've used the word that those that are in our care because I think that that's what you do as a local authority is that there are people that you care for that are in your care and they present a need to you and it's up to you then how to address that need.
Definitely. And I always wanted to deliver homes that would be the envy of the private sector. So by adopting Passive House, we were delivering homes that nobody could buy because at that time in the UK, there's very few Passive House homes you can buy. But certainly the private sector looked in, with a degree of interest, what's going on here?
Just on that, actually, are you able to tell me who the contractor was? Do you remember who that was?
So our very first projects were undertaken with ISG, sadly no longer with us. But they started off on a very modest development of 3 homes. And from then we moved on to our next development, which was 18 homes.
18?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And now, of course, I'm, delivering projects of 100 and more homes, Passive House homes, across London.
And so is that the standard now for you as a local authority is just to provide Passive House?
Yeah, certainly. So it's kind of the bedrock of the environmental sort of standards that we adopt. So we've got Passive House. We also continue to develop homes to building biology principles. So ensuring that they're really, really healthy. And also we want to ensure that they're climate ready. So we work with climate scientists and make sure that the way we design the buildings, the materials that we use, how we orientate the buildings are such that they are going to be climate resilient for the majority of their lifetime.
Talk to me about the biology element that you're referring to with the properties. What does that actually mean? And you've mentioned about the colours of walls and so on and so on. But what does that actually mean? And what are you trying to achieve by that for the tenant in the property?
Okay, so I guess building biology is about really putting health and well-being at the heart of the design.
So you're talking like VOCs and those types of things. Do you look at that as well?
Yeah, so we're looking at air quality. We're looking at water quality. We're looking at the specification of the materials. So we want to be as natural as possible. We want to avoid as you said, any items that are going to off-gas with volatile organic compounds, VOCs. We also want to look at the impact that our homes have on our mental well-being. So we want to ensure that we've got plenty of natural daylight. We don't want to screen that daylight by putting shading or tints on our glass. We want that full spectrum of daylight to come through. That enhances our well-being from our circadian rhythms through to our hormone production. So that's really important. So we want really nice, bright, airy rooms, but at the same time, we don't want them to overheat. So there's this balance. So we're always kind of having to pull levers to ensure that we create that optimum mix of healthiness, but also climate resilience and also thermal comfort.
Sounds like you're really leading the way in the local authority. And I know that you said it's not about you, it's about your tenants and about your people. And I appreciate that, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. I wonder, though, what could be done to try and persuade other local authorities across the country to maybe be a bit more bold or ambitious or a bit more maverick or a bit more whatever it is, or a bit less of maybe something else. What thoughts do you have in that area?
I think we've been really fortunate because I guess I was an early pioneer. I've kind of dedicated the last decade or so trying to really share my learning, my experiences, and share those stories of those tenants. Invited people to come and visit our social homes. And that's enabled a lot of local authorities and registry providers to adopt Passivhaus. And so over the last decade, we've seen quite a gradual increase. Now I would say it's accelerating at quite a pace. And we're seeing more and more local authorities now adopting it. Now, they still are quite sceptical in terms of affordability. And that still continues to be a bit of a challenge, but that's a challenge across the whole industry. But I think what I've sought to prove and to showcase over the last 15 years is that we can really drive down the cost of Passivhaus to little or no additional premium.
How do you do that? What would you say were the top 3 ways that you can make sure that cost is reduced?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's from day one being quite clear in your client's brief that, you're going for certified Passivhaus. So you embed that within your sort of client document. You then have to guard that with your life because everyone will try and persuade you as a client to do maybe Passivhaus principles or perhaps a different standard. So for me, it's always bed it into your client brief and hold on to it for your dear life. I think the next pointer would be to really surround yourself with consultants that are experienced with Passivhaus. And again, we're really fortunate now in the UK. We've got lots of consultants that are qualified, they're trained, but they're also experienced. And that can really make the difference between a successful Passivhaus project or one that can be very costly and may never end up being certified. And I think the next thing is really engaging with constructors, working with those people that are going to be your partner to deliver your successful project, creating a culture of no blame, and really creating an environment where people understand why you're doing Passivhaus, and almost share the magic rhythm. And we've seen that on projects where, contractors have been a little bit skeptical, maybe if they've not had experience of it. But when they start to work with the standards and realise that they're working on building sites that are a little bit more comfortable, they're warmer, they quickly get it. And then what you tend to find is once the project's finished, they're completely converted. It's almost like a religion. And then they're very kind of despondent to go on to any other project that isn't Passivhaus.
Thanks for watching to the end. I think that you'll like this, but before you do that, just make sure that you've commented and liked below, and also that you've subscribed.